Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today, I've got a very special video for you guys because we are going to rank women's fragrances that, as a man, I love to wear. So this video, just to, begin, so we keep everyone on the same page. This is not going to include all of the women's fragrances in my collection. So for example, I will just show you real quick. I've got a... this is a bottle of Aventus for her that my wife wears. Okay, you can see the dent she put in this. It's not on the list because I don't wear it. This is my wife's only. These are the ones I actually wear. Now, before we get started, this is ranked. This was very hard for me to rank. So, there are some things that, are going to mesh perfectly with the top 100 that I did, and there are some things that actually won't, and there's a bunch of fragrances on here that are not on that list, and they're just amazing fragrances. And you can't put everything in a top 100. It's, you just can't do it. You have to prioritize. And so, that's the first thing, okay? This was very hard to rank, and if you ask me tomorrow, it may be a little bit different, okay? But as of today, this is how I truly feel. This is my thoughts. Also, I've got way more fragrances from women than I realized. There are 46 fragrances on this list, and that's not going to include the quick decants I was just going to run by you guys. Like, for example, I've got a little mini that I'm going to do a review on. I'm going to decant it into a spray because I don't like dabbing, but maybe I'll have to because it has gold flakes in it, called L'Air D'Or, D''O''R. And, this is decades before Roja with the gold flakes. And look, there was a fragrance house in the 80s that's supposed to put out the most luxurious fragrance with gold flakes. So it's not going to include the little minis like Diva, which I absolutely love and would be on this list. It's not going to include the decants like Enigma Pour Femme. This is Roja's Enigma Pour Femme for women, 5 ml decant. And so I will wear this and I will review it one day on the channel. It's not going to include the minis like Borsellino's Donna, which is a beautiful floral fragrance. And it's not going to include the minis of Trussardi Python, which is a discontinued women's fragrance by Trussardi that has this chocolatey Samsara-like vibe. Speaking of Samsara, let me just really quick, there's a few on here, okay, that I did not include because I don't know them well enough. So, Samsara I only wore a couple times and it gave me a little bit of a headache. I don't know how much I'll be able to wear this. So it's not on the list, but this is one of the most beautiful sandalwood fragrances. But the floral aspect in this, depending on the day. One day I wore it, it was fine. The other day I wore it, it kind of gave me a headache. Not on the list. And then another one that's not on the list because I honestly don't know where to rank it. I haven't given it a full wear yet. Is Guerlain's Chamade. Okay, now this is the Eau de Toilette. I've worn it to bed a couple times. It might be the most complex fragrance in my collection. It's extremely complex. And it wouldn't be fair for me to put it in the bottom quartile right now because it could be in the top quartile. I just don't know where to put it. And Givenchy's Satis is another one by Dominique Ropion from the 80s. Satis de Givenchy. Not on the list because I've never given it a full wear yet. I've only worn these fragrances to bed. But I will continue to test them and wear them. And once I know them well enough, I'll put a review up on my channel because this is an amazing fragrance, I can tell you that. Even though it's not my favorite Guerlain, it deserves to be recognized. Chamade. And this is the vintage Eau de Toilette in this old bottle. The sprayer on this is a beast. It just dumps juice on you. And so I need to wear it and get to know it better. So I didn't think it was fair for me to rank it. Okay, with that out of the way, let us talk scent of the day first, because I'm wearing Au Coeur du Désert by Andy Tower, and this is his X-Ray version of L'air du Désert Marocain, and this is the first time I'm giving this a full wear. Same thing, I've worn this to bed, but I've never given it a full wear, and we'll talk more about it on my channel at some other time. This is going to be a long video, so I'm trying to rush through the normal steps, the standard operating procedure of Channel Ramsey, if you will. But Accord du Désert is a beautiful amber. It has that Andy Tower DNA, and, it's hot here in Texas. It's July in Texas, but I still wanted to wear it. I wanted to experience it. I'm in air conditioning, so it doesn't matter. But, yes, it's beautiful. I can totally see why people rave about it. For me, L'air du Désert Marocain and Accord du Désert, they're kind of interchangeable. You really don't need both. I have both now. Maybe one day I'll even do a comparison video, but it is beautiful with the spices, the amber, those resinous notes that Andy Tower uses so well. Oh, by the way, I know I never say like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, but what I will say instead of that is go watch my Russian Adam interview, okay? We've done 2 now. The one from a couple days ago was a live stream. It's one of the most important pieces of work I've ever uploaded to my channel. It's 4 hours of him just basically putting on a master class. We went through ingredients. We smelled the actual ingredients that he sent me on blotters. We talked about how they smell to him and how he has developed as a perfumer. So anyways, put that on your calendar to watch. It is long, but you can, watch it on 1.5 times speed or something. And the last thing is Liz Moore, the perfumer and owner of Papillon, is going to be on Friday, the 29th of July on my channel on a live stream. We're going to do an interview. It'll be 11 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time where I'm at. It'll be 5 o'clock in Great Britain. So if you can join that, please do. And she has some amazing fragrances that are completely unisex for men and women. And I can't wait to pick her brain and chat with her. Okay, 7 minutes in and we haven't done any fragrances. Let's get on the list. So this is going to be ranked from my least favorite to my favorite. And we're going to start on the bottom of the barrel. And we're going to start with number 45, okay? Number 45, sorry, 46. And this is L'air du Temps. Now, L'air du Temps came out in the 1940s. It came out right after World War II. Some of the bottles, this is a splash, so it doesn't have it, but some of them have these 2 turtle doves that are supposed to represent peace. And the whole idea, it's a powdery, bright floral fragrance with a peach note and beautiful mixture of carnation, ylang, iris, orchid, and lily, stuff like that. There is a little bit of a base of vetiver sandalwood, to give it a little bit of heft, but it's mostly a fresh floral fragrance. And it kind of took the world by storm because the idea was after World War II, a woman could dab her neck, and it's like giving peace to mankind after that, war where so many people died. So that's L'air du Temps by the house of Nina Ricci, number 46. Number 45, and this may surprise people, but again, this is not me ranking them as the greatest fragrances of all time. This is me ranking them as my favorites to wear, so keep that in mind. This is Chanel number 5. Now, this is the Eau de Cologne concentration, which is the one that I prefer, actually. Number 5, Eau de Cologne. It's something that just doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't move me, but I do like this version the best, the Eau de Cologne, over the Eau de Toilette. The Eau de Toilette kind of puts me off. The aldehydes, maybe it's like the oak moss, the civet that feels a little more amped up. It feels like the most masculine, the most earthy of the bunch, if you will, because of that vetiver and civet. It's not just about the aldehydic florals. It is a good perfume, but it's not my favorite to wear. But I'm glad to have it and get to know it and experience it. Okay, now, this one's a discontinued fragrance. Chanel number 5 Eau de Cologne is also discontinued. This came out from the house of Balenciaga in 1973, and it's called Cialenga. And Cialenga is a Chypre fragrance. It's a spicy Chypre. And this has this fruity blackcurrant opening with citruses and some really beautiful florals. There's another Balenciaga fragrance coming up very soon that I like even more than this. But there is some clove, there's some spiciness, there's patchouli, oak moss, sandalwood, vetiver, and cedar in the base. If you're a fan of the old school Chypres of, classical times, okay, of the 60s, 70s, 80s, the chypres they used to make for women. Put Cialenga on the list. I never hear anyone talk about this. There is also a little bit of earthiness and a little bit of dirtiness here. So if you're like me and you like your chypres to have a little dirtiness to them, check this one out from 1973. Still affordable. I got this little, I don't know, 30 ml or whatever it was, half full for like 30 bucks. You know, I didn't pay that much for it. For a discontinued fragrance, it's not bad. But no one talks about this one, Balenciaga's Cialenga. Okay, next we're going to go back to Chanel, and it's going to be number 22. All right, and so number 22 is spot number 43 on the countdown, and number 22 is Chanel's wedding scent, if you will, and this is a vintage bottle. Look at that bottle. This is what they used to give away to people back in the old days. Look, compliments of Chanel. When they would make a purchase, they would get this, which is, oh wow. They would get this, which is 19 mils. 19 mils for free in a beautiful bottle like this. You know, the old days were just superior. There's no getting around it, especially in perfumery. You can see it better on the back of the box, actually. Compliments of Chanel. These little 19 ml bottles are perfect for me because I can experience it. It's not my favorite to wear, obviously, as a scent of the day. It's an aldehydic floral, very much like number 5, but for some reason, even though there's not the civet note that number 5 Eau de Cologne has, I like this more. I don't know why. It's floral, it's powdery, but the ingredients are just blended so well that I just can't help but smile and love this when I wear it. Okay, next we're going to go to a quote-unquote cheapie, but it is discontinued, okay? So if this is one you're interested in, I would say get it as soon as possible. It came out in the 80s, and it's an Etienne Aigner perfume called Explosive. And this bottle was very kindly sent to me by one of my subscribers, Heinke. Thank you very much for sending me this. And you were right. You know my taste. I do love this. And it could even be higher. But the problem I had is there's so many fragrances that are so important that when I wear it, I feel like I'm wearing a piece of art that I just couldn't put this any higher. You know, I couldn't put this over some of the others, although I truly enjoy wearing this. And it was very kind of you to send this to me. Explosive is a spicy floral fragrance that has some dirtiness to the way that the flowers were done. So if you know in the 80s, especially in the late 80s, this came out in 86, it turned into a trend to kind of do these really heavy, indolic, you know, crazy floral fragrances. You know, you could think of something like Alain Delon Aquitos, right? You could think of Paco Rabanne Tenere. This kind of goes in that direction of this really sharp, animalic floral is how I would put it. Even though there's no civet, or at least there's no civet listed, it smells like there could be Castorium or something like that in there. I think it's coming from the way that the flowers were presented. So the iris, the rose, the lily of the valley, the geranium. The geranium, I think, gives off that spicy quality. And there is patchouli, beautiful patchouli note in the base, oak moss. There's an ambergris note, although it's probably, you know, not real ambergris because Aigner's not, you know, a super high-end brand or anything. But for a well-priced women's fragrance, I would wear this all day. I absolutely love it. Aigner Explosive. Okay, next is going to be a classic. And again, you guys may say, oh my God, I can't believe this is this low. But again, my list, my favorite ones to wear. This is from 1961 from Guy Robert. He will make another appearance here very soon. This is Calèche by Hermes. This is the vintage Eau de Toilette. And you can kind of see how they used to do the batch code back in the day. I love that. Looks like someone wrote it on with a crayon. But it's a floral chypre, aldehydic floral. Guy Robert's professed favorite fragrance was Arpege by the House of Lanvin. He thought that was the perfect fragrance, and that's coming up very soon as well. And so he kind of tried to recreate it over and over, but in different ways. And while I like this, I actually like Arpege better. And I like another one of his creations that was done later on in the 80s, even better than this. But this is a beautiful fragrance. It feels very old school. Even though it was created in 1961, it feels like Chanel could have created this in the 1920s or 30s, to be honest with you. But I really enjoy it, and you know with Hermes, you're getting top-notch quality. Okay, next we're going to go to what some would consider one of the greatest floral fragrances of all time. It's an Edmund Rudnitska, who some would consider is one of the greatest perfumers of all time. This is Diorissimo. And this is a vintage bottle, EDT, discontinued. I got this for a song. I can't believe the lady sold it to me at such a great price. It's in completely perfect condition. And this is a floral fresh fragrance that highlights the note of Lily of the Valley. Okay, and the scent Lily of the Valley, in case you guys didn't know, cannot be extracted. There's no natural essence for Lily of the Valley, so it must be reconstructed to be, you know, usable as an accord, basically. And even though there were Lily of the Valley fragrances before, in Diorissimo, Edmund Rudnitska basically reconstructed this fragrance using a compound called hydroxycitronellol. And I think that ingredient is now banned, but it counts as basically his masterpiece for Lily of the Valley. Some say his masterpiece, period. I disagree. I'd much rather wear, for my personal taste, I'd rather wear Eau de Hermes or something like that. But this is also kind of an homage to Christian Dior and to the house, because Christian Dior, the man, okay, when he was designing dresses for women on the you know, fashion shows or whatever it is, he would actually sew a Lily of the Valley like into the hems of the dresses, or, you know, somewhere tuck it into his models' dresses before they went on stage for good luck. He loved Lily of the Valley. It was his favorite flower. And so this is kind of one of those very special fragrances. I did an entire Muguet video. This is not a top 10. Go watch that. If I ever rank that, obviously this would be number 1. Okay, next we're going to go back to the house of Hermes, and this is Amazon. And I love this fragrance. I think this is an amazing fragrance. It's a floral chypre, but there's some dirtiness to it. There's a note of cassis, or cassia, that gives this kind of animalic opening punch. And it does feel old school as well. It was issued in '74, and it's another one that feels like it could have been a decade or two before 1974. But the oak moss and the vetiver, yes, there's florals, jasmine, lily of the valley, rose, but it's the oak moss, the, you know, vetiver, the amber in the base. I love Amazon. Okay, next, one of the most realistic iris fragrances I've ever smelled, ever, okay? And in fact, really quick story. During the Russian Atom live stream a couple days ago, we smelled ingredients. One of the ingredients was orris at 80% irones, okay? Which is mind-blowing amount of irones. Most orises that people put into a compositions have 10 to 20% irones. 80% irones is completely insane. And if any ingredient I ever smelled on its own was going to make me cry because of how beautiful it is, it would be the orris at 80% iron. It's like, it just like gets into your brain and just, it's the most beautiful thing you could ever smell. I love iris. And this is the most perfect representation of what that smells like. This is a straight out and out iris soliflor. It's one of the best, you know, floral iris scents that I've ever smelled. It's so beautiful. It's iris with iris and, you know, a little bit of honey and vanilla to kind of round everything out. There's some other flowers like carnation, neroli, and rose, but it just highlights the iris so perfectly. And it's so beautiful. Beautiful, cold iris. I absolutely love it. That's Hiris. Okay, now we're going to go to the house of Dana, and this is Tabu. Now, Tabu is a Oriental, and it is, oh, it's beautiful. If you're a fan of Oriental fragrances, which we'll talk about very soon, if you can find an older bottle of Tabu, it's hard to tell, but if you look at the back, you'll notice it says Dana Perfumes Corp. Now, this house is a house that was kind of it was almost like a zombie company. It died, it was resurrected, it died, it resurrected, and they came back as New Dana and all these other names. If you can find an older one when it was just Dana Perfumes, I think you'll be very happy with this composition. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Dana Tabu. One of the all-time classics. Okay, last one I've got to reach down for, and this is going to be Kenzo Jungle. Now, Kenzo Jungle is a composition that was created by two master perfumers, Dominique Ropion and Jean-Louis Suizac, okay? And Kenzo Jungle is a spicy Oriental. It's also an Oriental, but it's been modernized. Also, so what they did that makes this so interesting is they use this very, if you've ever smelled heliotrope, right? It has this, almost like this almond-like, pudgy. It's hard to describe, but heliotrope has this pudgy-like quality, like you're pushing on foam, and it's popping back to its original form. And there's a note of mango listed as well. And the mango and licorice and of course the spicy notes, there's cardamom and clove, just mash with that, that heliotrope note. If you're a fan of heliotrope fragrances, this is one of the best to kind of try to get your nose on. There's other things going on. There's gardenia and ylang ylang, but man, it's absolutely beautiful. Okay, we got to get a move on it because we are nowhere near getting to the end. So next, another Guy Robert. This is Amouage Gold Woman. So I like this a little bit more than Calèche, but it's not my favorite to wear because Gold Woman, it just doesn't have the punch that Gold Man has. Gold Man has a little bit more punch. This is just a little bit more turned down. It's a beautiful jasmine, lily of the valley rose with, Omani frankincense and ambergris and civet, but it's just not as, and this is an older bottle. It's not as, the dirtiness from the civet is not as pronounced. Okay, back to Edmond Rudnitska. We're going to go to Diorella. Now, Diorella, some would consider as one of the best chiffres of all time. It's a floral chiffre that he uses a melon note in the top, which kind of shows how advanced he was even in the 60s and 70s. That melon top note starts to become very popular in the 90s, and you'll notice it with Pierre Bourdon's compositions as well, who was a student of Edmond Rudnitska. But this is honeysuckle, carnation, jasmine, peach, melon, basil, rose, oak moss, musk, patchouli, and vetiver. These old bottles have a lovely amount of oak moss in them. It's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful fragrance. I would urge you to get your nose on, especially if you're an Edmond Rudnitska fan. There's a little bit of that dirtiness. I think one of the Tina Sanchez or Luca Turin, one of them wrote that melon contrasted with the chiffre quality gives it this fish market like smell. I disagree, but I know what she's kind of getting at. His fragrances are challenging at first. You have to kind of let it dry, but they are absolutely beautiful. Okay, so let's go to a fragrance from the house of Balenciaga. And the fragrance is called Le Dix. Okay, so here's Le Dix. This was sent to me by Amouage at Enchanté Perfumes. And I'll tell you what. Wow. There's something about this. This is also, I would consider, an aldehydic floral. Maybe even aldehydic floral chypre, if you will. It has this peach note. This is the first perfume Balenciaga ever put out in 1947. I like it better than number 5. I like it better than number 22. It just does something. I don't know if you could make an aldehydic floral better than this. This is so good. And, you know, that's the advantage of working with someone like Amouage, is he gets to know you, and he's, you know, this came as a freebie for a large purchase. He threw this in. He knew I didn't have it. Wow. Completely taken aback, blown away, whatever you want to call it. I am a huge fan. Okay, so now we're going to get to one of the first old Lanvin fragrances. And it's actually from the house of, it's actually from the year 1924. So this is way back when. This is even before Arpege, years before Arpege. It's an animalic floral fragrance called My Sin. And you can see the woman giving the gift, you know, with her daughter right there, the woman with her daughter. It's a perfect symbol for this video, actually. And this, look how old this box is. I mean, you can just see it in the cardboard, right? It's absolutely beautiful. So lucky to have this. And it's an animalic floral. I mean, wow. Wow. It is amazing. You know, it's got this, how would you describe it? I would describe it like, imagine if you took something like number 5, okay, or even like Le Dix, and you blended it with Mitsuko, and you added a little bit of Jicky, and you just, all this crazy stuff. It's absolutely insane. But the florals mixed with the animal, it just makes you melt. Even though this is not my favorite type of fragrance to wear, okay? I wear a lot of vintage masculines and stuff like that. You know, niche. This fragrance just, every time I smell some of these older fragrances, I'm just like, wow. I mean, just the composition, the ingredients, everything about it will just completely blow you away. I mean, if you're a perfume lover, it's heaven. It's absolutely heaven. Okay, next we are going to jump to a Dior fragrance that came out in the 1980s, and it's called Poison. Now, this is the Esprit de Parfum, and the Esprit de Parfum is discontinued. You can't buy this any longer, and it's probably my favorite version of Poison, because it has this amped up, honeyed, plum, you know, everything is even, it's hard to say it's even heavier than just regular Poison, but everything in here is so, it's like an X-ray when you wear it, right? And the problem that I have with this fragrance, for me personally, is I love everything about it. The Apopanax, you know, the floral notes. Outside of one, I absolutely love. The tuberose gets me. And we were smelling tuberose absolute during Russian Adam's video, and go watch kind of our reaction to it. Both of us said we didn't really care for the natural ingredient as much as some of the other flowers. I'm not sure why. Tuberose seems very green. You know, it's a tough flower for me to get along with. I don't have many tuberose fragrances that I can say I really love, but the composition here is so amazing. The plum, the Apopanax, you know, it's in that huge, you know, how opium, which is very close to the top of the list, has this huge profile. It's a gigantic fragrance. Opium, or Poison, is the same way. It just represents the 80s perfectly. It's a gigantic fragrance, especially in its vintage form like this. There's rosewood, there's plum, like I said, there's vanilla. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I will wear it, but that tuberose note kind of gets me. Okay, next we're going to the house of Estee Lauder. This is one of a couple fragrances on this list, and this is Estee Lauder's Knowing. Knowing came out in 88. It's plum, pittosporum, rose, mimosa, again, tuberose, but it's not as prominent as in poison. Jasmine, orange blossom, patchouli, amber, oak moss, sandalwood, and vetiver. Oh, wow. What a fragrance. And again, this video is all about, of course, fragrances for women. Every single one of these is for women that I have no problem wearing as a man. And, you know, if you're a guy, don't get thrown off on, you know, gender. Don't be afraid to try something like this. Many stuff that was issued for women, you know, a decade or two later will be issued for a man, and stuff that was issued for a man will be issued for women, or be issued as unisex. So don't get caught up in the gender of perfumery as much. Try these fragrances. You know, this is one that, one of the fragrances that really started, I would say, me moving to trying all these feminine fragrances, because I smelled this and went, wow, this is something. If, you know, if you just put this in a bottle, if you like fragrances like Iquitos, I keep going back to Iquitos. Iquitos is the perfect example of this whole don't get caught up in the gender of perfumery, because it was originally supposed to be Dior's Poison. Iquitos was supposed to be Dior's Poison. It lost the brief of Poison, Dior, to this, okay? And then Alain Delon came in, bought the formula, and marketed it for men. Same fragrance. That was going to be a women's fragrance, and men loved it. You know, wore it, loved it. Now it's a cult classic, Iquitos. So don't get so caught up in the gendering of perfume. That's why I'm doing this video. Okay, next we're going to go to a house called Molinard, and they created a fragrance in, I believe it was the 20s. Yeah, it was the 1920s originally. I think this is an 80s or a 90s bottle, and this is called Habanita Eau De Toilette. Which is discontinued, of course. They only do the Eau de Parfum now. And this is a spicy oriental fragrance. Beautiful tobacco-like hints at tobacco. There's no tobacco listed in this fragrance, but it will hint at tobacco. Kind of like Tobacco Rose. Yesterday we did the first impression. There's no tobacco in Tobacco Rose, but it will hint at tobacco. Very similar vibe for Habanita. And this fragrance changes within the first hour, and what you get in the second and third hour and what you get in the fourth and the fifth hour are totally different. So don't judge this on first spray. Give it full wearings. Give it time to cook on your skin. It's absolutely beautiful. This easily could have been higher, easily. But we're going to start to get to the big hitters here. And, you know, I just couldn't put it any higher. But this is another beautiful heliotrope note in Habanita. But it's more about the amber, the vanilla, the mastic, the resins, you know, the patchouli. There's a rose centifolia note in here that is just beautiful. Nutmeg, jasmine from grass. The ingredients will wow you. I mean, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, next we're going to go to a fragrance that if you ask many perfumers, hey, what is the one perfume you could, if you could make one perfume, many of them say, maybe Eau Sauvage or Eau de Hermes or, you know, something like that. They'll say Shalimar, and they'll also say this, Féminité du Bois, by the house of Serge Lutens. The femininity of wood is basically what that means. And these old Serge Lutens bottles are perfect. I am, you know, I'm very upset they changed the bottles. I will not buy those new black bottles. I just won't, with the black, you know, facing print or whatever. I love these 50 ml bottles Serge Lutens used to do. This is Christopher Sheldrake and the great Pierre Bourdon. When you think about all the things Pierre Bourdon did and affected and touched, and, you know, he taught Julien Rasquinet and Jean-Christophe Herault and all of, I mean, just, it even came out that Dominique Ropillon trained under Pierre Bourdon. in the 80s. Someone just told me that last week. But the reason this isn't higher is because it wears a little light in this version. I wish I would have been able to procure a little bit of the Shiseido version, which came in the bottle that, you know, almost looked like a, I don't know, like a little bit like a woman's figure maybe, or like a water jug from the old days, but it had this, you know, weird bulge, and that was supposedly heavier. They've lightened it up a little bit now that Serge Lutens took the formula back from Shiseido, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful honey, plum, clove, and of course cedar. Cedar is one of the main aspects. The wood note, marketed towards women, which was revolutionary back then. No one made a woody fragrance for women. You know, woody, spicy for women. They looked at them like they were crazy. Okay, now this fragrance is the reason that Obsession for women is not on this list. Also because my Obsession bottle, I think the top notes have turned. I prefer this anyways, to be honest with you. This is called Krazy Krizia. This is the Eau De Toilette. You can also get the Eau De Parfum. Krazy Krizia is, I haven't been counting these down very well, have I? We're on number 27. All right, so we got a ways to go. It'll probably be another half an hour. We'll be over the hour mark today. But Krazy Krizia is a Dominique Ropion, and it came out in 91. It's discontinued, of course. But imagine if you took Obsession for women and blended it with Musc de Cartier from the early 80s, right? That green basil, you know, galbanum opening with powdery amber. I mean, look at the color of the juice. That ambery, powdery, 80s, late 80s, you know, Obsession, Lagerfeld cologne from the late 70s, that powdery, orangey vibe that some of those fragrances gave and became so popular. It's here. But the ingredients smell even better, and there's a dirty civet note underneath. So it's green, ambery, florally, and dirty. It's perfect for winter. Absolutely perfect. And you'll smell so different from what everyone else is wearing. And I got 2 bottles of this, 100 ml each. One is the Eau De Toilette, one is the Eau De Parfum. I got them both for $80. Value for money is through the roof of this right now. And it's a Dominique Ropion. People are spending $2 grand on the night, but they won't spend $80 on Krazy Krizia. Okay, now we're going to go to the bottle with the thumbnail, and the reason it's in the thumbnail is because it's absolutely stunning bottle. This is from the house of Parfums Gray, and it's called Cabochard. Look at that beautiful bottle with the bow. Cabochard. Now, Cabochard was created by the great Bernard Chant, I believe. It's a spicy Chypre fragrance, again, that has this Hermes-like smell. Okay, so if you like Hermes from the 60s for men, this has a little bit of that leathery, you know, bourbon vetiver, patchouli, oak moss, musk, galbanum in the top. It's very reminiscent of fragrances like Hermes or Bandy. If you like Bandy, which is coming up, it's higher on the list than Cabochard. Check this out, though. This is still a beautiful fragrance, and the notes here do feel high quality. They don't seem cheap, and I absolutely love the bottle. That's why it made the thumbnail. Okay, next we are going to go to a Dior, and this came out in the early 90s, and this is called Dune for women. This fragrance is absolutely stunning, by the way. Master perfumers again, Jean-Louis Suizac, Dominique Ropion, and Nejla Barbier. I don't know her, but it's aldehydes, rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, peony, ylang, rose, lily, jasmine, ambergris, benzoin, oak moss, musk, sandalwood, vanilla, and patchouli. It also smells to me like there's some incense, like there's elemi or frankincense or something in here. Even though there's nothing listed, it has that vibe somehow. You know, woody, spicy, incensey, benzoin, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Totally unisex in my mind. Completely unisex. It's beautiful. Okay, now this could also be much higher on the list, but we're going to start getting into the big boys, and this is based on what I love to wear. And I love this fragrance, but I don't know how much I'll be able to wear it. It's Lanvin's Arpege. This is Arpege X-Ray. There you go. This is the X-Ray. And here's the bottle. Stunning. Stunning X-Ray. And the price I got it for was stunning too. It's so beautiful. I mean, honeysuckle, peach. There's the little insert that came with it. I love the little idea with the stand too. You've got this, it holds the bottle into place. I love everything about the presentation. I love the smell, but it's a floral powdery fragrance. A little hard for me to wear, but you can totally see why Guy Robert idolized this scent enough to base Gold Woman and also Calèche off of this composition. It's beautiful. And sadly, I think it is discontinued. Okay. Next, we're going to go to our first Guerlain. This is Vol de Nuit. So Vol de Nuit falls at number 23. And Vol de Nuit is a spicy, woody, green galbanum. You know, in the 1930s, it was very hard for a perfumer to, you know, they didn't have the technology that we have today. So for a perfumer to put something as creative as Vol de Nuit out, as Jacques Guerlain did, this easily could be higher as well. It just depends. There's more Guerlains much closer to the top that I love more than this, but for someone else, this could be there and the other ones could be here. You know what I mean? It's just personal preference because they're so beautiful. There's spices, oak moss, orris, there's an iris note here that's to die for, but it mixes with that green galbanum, makes it very wearable in warmer weather for me, especially the Eau de Toilette, which most Guerlains I prefer the Eau de Toilette version of. Okay, now we're going to go to the house of Jean Patou, and this is Joy. Joy. This is the Parfum version right here. This is what the old bottle used to look like. You can see the old made in France. Unfortunately, this leaked along the way, so I didn't get much juice out of it. It was only, the juice was like here. Whatever, I got a good deal on it, so I didn't, and the lady sold me other things, so I didn't say anything, but I wanted to be able to show you the presentation anyways. But Joy is an animalic floral. If you like fragrances like Amouage, Gold, man, I would highly urge you to check out Joy. It's beautiful. It's like nothing else I've ever smelled. It is oricey, civet-y. The florals here are just, you know, like you can just bite into it. Like you're biting into a fruit or an apple, but instead of, you know, tasting like an apple, it tastes like just the most luxurious floral. But imagine, don't imagine so much the taste of the apple, but imagine the texture of an apple. That's what the florals feel like. Like you're just biting into this, like this floral fragrance that just, you know, goes on and on and on. It's insane. I absolutely love it. Okay, we're going to go back to the 1980s, another discontinued fragrance by the house of Paco Rabanne. This is called La Nuit. And La Nuit is a fragrance I bought because of my love of another fragrance that's coming up higher on the list. It's a floral chiffre, again, with civet in the base. You're starting to kind of get the kind of things that I really love. Rose, jasmine, artemisia in the top, and leather in the base. So there's leather, civet, oak moss, patchouli. It's absolutely stunning. If you like those kind of fragrances, and I'll mention which one it is here in a minute once we get there, put La Nuit on the list. Okay, now we're going to do our women's Amouage in the current bottle, and the rumor is this is discontinued. That is the rumor. Someone left it on my channel. I can't verify that, but that's what they said. This is Fate Woman, in one of the most beautiful bottles you'll ever see. Fate Woman is an oriental spicy Shifra fragrance. Oh God. If you like fragrances like opium and you want to try like a niche version of opium, I would highly urge you to check out Fate Woman. It is resinous, frankincense, castorium, benzoin, labdanum, and there's this insane chili note. Yes, chili, like red chilies in the opening. It makes it so interesting. It's an amazing fragrance. I think Luca Turin gave it 5 stars, if that matters to you. Okay, again, this is another one where people may say, how is this not higher? This is Estee Lauder's Youth Dew. And this is Josephine Catapano created this. Spicy, oriental. Again, if you like fragrances like opium, this is right there with it. Easily could be higher, but opium is the one that I love wearing the most, but this is beautiful. And you can still find bottles of this for cheap. You know, this is the Eau de Parfum. I've never tried the Eau de Cologne or whatever they call it, but oh, if you're an Oriental fan, I mean, this is a must sniff. This inspired so many fragrances. In fact, Estee Lauder was kind of pissed off at YSL because she thought they copied this with opium. And she may be right. They are very close. But there's just something about opium for me that it just does it for me. Okay, back to Amouage. And this is 2009. This is Epic Woman. Again, look at the bottle. Absolutely stunning. This one has the magnetic cap. The first one's a click cap. And this is a Cecile Zarokian. And I think she had some help. She didn't do it alone. But cumin, cinnamon, damask rose, tea, iris, frankincense. Those are the main notes. Absolutely stunning. Relaxing. You know, when one of my subscribers, a couple of them actually, have been pounding the drum on this fragrance for a long time. And I finally succumbed. Okay? I succumbed and I bought a bottle, and I am so glad I got the 100 ml and not the 50 ml. I mean, either way, I mean, 50 mils is probably more than enough for my collection, but I'm glad I got the 100 ml because this fragrance, the tea, reminds me a little bit of the tea note in Silver Mountain Water. Okay, if you've ever smelled Silver Mountain Water by Creed. But imagine it with Amouage's incense, like wrapped around that tea note, and cumin. The cumin feels like kind of the cumin you smell in Cecile Zarokian's Tango, if you've ever smelled that fragrance by Masque Milano. So you get cumin, tea, Amouage frankincense with this beautiful iris and oud. It's stunning, stunning women's fragrance. All right, we're going to start getting into the big boys now. Here we go. This is Guerlain's Le Bleu. This is the Eau de Parfum. This is the Eau de Toilette, vintage Eau de Toilette. I think I prefer the Eau de Toilette, but this is a newer bottle of the Eau de Parfum, probably within the last 10 years, I would say. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just the vintage materials were better. But I said in one video, I thought this was a heliotrope fragrance. That almondy, again, you know, Play-Doh-y. That's the word I was looking for. Heliotrope has this Play-Doh-like quality, like it's malleable, you know? And the Play-Doh-like quality in the I said this was a heliotrope fragrance, and someone was like, no way, I don't get much heliotrope out of it. And I remember saying, I'm telling you, I think this is kind of a heliotrope, powdery, floral. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on, iris and violet, but on the back right here, it says dominant notes, heliotrope, right there. And I totally get that purple heliotrope color you get in your brain when you smell it, it's here. But with the Guerlain, the benzoin, the vanilla, the tonka, it's introspective fragrance. This came out before World War I. Le Bleu, the blue hour right before the sun sets. I mean, again, Jacques Guerlain, one of the greatest perfumers of all time. I will do a perfumer's portfolio on just him. Wow, I mean, what a fragrance. All right, we're going to go back-to-back Guerlains here. This is Guerlain's Jicky. And this is the Eau de Parfum in the B bottle. This is the Eau de Toilette in the vintage, old school Eau de Toilette bottles. And, oh God, Jicky. You know, if you're a fan, this is an Amy Guerlain. If you're a fan of fougères, lavender, true fougères, this is a true fougère. You have to smell this. I mean, this fragrance is hypnotic to me. You know, some people say it smells dirty because of the civet and the spices and stuff like that. I don't care. I think it's absolutely stunning. And I love the masculine counterpart to this too. This is obviously for women. But men wore so much of it that they created Mouchoir de Monsieur in 1904. I love them both. Love them both. All right. Next, we're going to go back to another French house, this time Chanel. This is number 19. This is the vintage short ingredient list number 19, and it's stunning. The galbanum in hyacinth combo in the top with the iris and the florals and the oak moss in the base is, it's beyond words. I mean, for springtime, this is perfection. It's perfection. That cold green, oh, it's so good. And I'll tell you what, you may think, you know, this is a, you know, women's 70s green fragrance. Why would a man want to wear it? I get so much attention when I wear stuff like this. Not that I care. I don't care about attention, and I don't care about, you know, I don't care about compliments or anything like that. But number 19, if you wear it in the right weather, I mean, it shines. It's just, it's so beautiful that people have to pay attention. Okay, now this one took me by surprise. This is one I was not ready for. This is another Guy Robert, my favorite Guy Robert, better than Amouage Gold Woman to me, better than Calèche by Hermes. This is Dior's Dioressence. And Dioressence comes in at number 14. Wow. I mean, this is technically considered a floral chiffre fragrance, but it's unlike anything you've ever smelled because it has this mixture of aldehydic floral with fruitiness and citruses, with beautiful floral heart, carnation, geranium, rose, tuberose, jasmine, violet, ylang, orris, but the cinnamon is turned up. The resins are turned up. So there's styrax, benzoin, there's a beautiful old school oak moss in the base. This fragrance shocked me. Honestly, I was not ready for it. It really stole my heart. Dioressence stole my heart. And I think it's Guy Robert's best work, in my opinion. And I'm so glad I found a bottle. So glad. All right. We went Guerlain, Chanel, Dior. Now we're going back to Chanel. The French houses are starting to really take over now. This is Chanel's Coco. 1984. Jacques Polge, again, one of the greatest perfumers of all time. Coco comes in at number 13. So the countdown is getting close. And this is a vintage bottle as well. Here, I'll show you the back. You can see kind of the short ingredient list. This fragrance is, I told you if you like Paco Rabanne, or if you like this style of fragrances, you could try Ungaro's Diva, which is also a Jacques Polge. You could try La Nuit, and you can try another one coming up very soon. But there's the bottle. Chanel's Coco Eau de Toilette, vintage. This fragrance, I mean, wow. Wow. It's just, this is some of my favorite, this is why it's so high. This is one of my favorite types of women's fragrances to wear. I love the oriental vibe, you know. There's this pimento note, which is used so to perfection here. That's, I think it even feels a little masculine to me at times. Oh, this DNA is just amazing. Mandarin orange. There's a frangipani note in here, which I haven't seen good frangipani used in designer fragrances like this. Bortnikov, which is $350 a bottle, is the only one I can think of that does these amazing frangipani, lotus notes. But here, frankincense, civet, honey. The honey, I love honey. I mean, cocoa is a revelation, and if I've only worn it once, okay? So if I wear it more, you may see it continue to climb on the list, but that's with one full wearing. I've worn it to bed a couple times. Okay. Now, the next one is also a revelation, and one I've also only worn to bed and once, but this is absolutely, this also stole my heart, okay? This is the refill bottle, so it's not in a pretty bottle. I don't care. I'm in it for the juice. It's an Edmund Rudnitska. And at number 12, we have Miss Dior in the old vintage Esprit de Parfum 75 ml canister, refill canister. Wow. I mean, Miss Dior in this version with the green galbanum, the narcissus, the sage, the oak moss. This is a masculine chiffre to me. Sandalwood, patchouli, labdanum. It's so good. I mean, it is a absolute shame if you're a guy that you would let something like this go because it says Miss Dior. You know, this is, the oak moss in the base is, you know, like I said, we smelled the ingredients. I had oak moss absolute under my nose a couple days ago. This is oak moss perfection. There's another fragrance coming up that I think is also oak moss perfection. But yes, I mean, we're getting into the big hitters now, as you can see by my reactions. Okay, now we're going to go to one of my favorite leather fragrances marketed for women that I think is probably the butchest fragrance on this list, okay? If you like leathers like I like leathers, if you like Bel Ami, you know, if you like those kind of leathers, right? You have to check this out. This is Bandit by the house of Robert Piguet. Green, tarragon, aldehydic, galbanum. Oh, opening. Oh my God. This is Castorium Leather civet. It's so dirty and butch, and I couldn't even describe it. It's like, you know, industrial, in your face, animalic leather. Done to perfection. You know, like leather jacket. It's, you know how Tuscan leather has that dirtiness to it? This is Tuscan leather's dirtiness level amped up to level 100. It is so animalic and harsh, and I love it for that. I absolutely love it. This is a no holds barred, and this was for women. My God, I couldn't imagine a modern woman wearing this. They would throw up if they wore this today. But I absolutely love it. And as a leather lover, if you have never smelled Bandit, try to get your nose on an older Eau de Toilette or older Parfum if you can. It is a revelation. Okay, now one of the best value for money fragrances money can buy came out in '87. It's discontinued by the house of Jean Patou. It's called Ma Liberté. And Ma Liberté, this is the Eau de Parfum. You can also get the Eau de Toilette. Galen raves about the Eau de Toilette. Oh my God. I mean, this is fine French perfumery executed to a T. Jean Carlio knocked it out of the park with this. I mean, people will pay $1,000 to $2,000 for Jean Patou Privé or Jean Patou Pour Homme, but they won't pay $100 for Ma Liberté. I mean, if they followed their nose at all, this would be way more expensive. This is an absolute gem of a fragrance. It is, and it has many masculine notes too. That's the other thing. You know, Jean Carleo is famous for doing a couple things. Number one, he loved using Mysore sandalwood, real Mysore sandalwood, which you can't do anymore. This has this creaminess. I don't know if this bottle has Mysore sandalwood in it, but it feels like it has this smoothness from the Mysore sandalwood. You know, like you're in a 12-speed car and you don't feel a single shift, you know, like you're in a Rolls Royce, you know? And then you're hit with this beautiful lavender note. Absolutely stunning lavender in here with spicy clove and nutmeg. Everything is balanced to absolute perfection. And then you get the woods, sandalwood, cedar. And again, that sandalwood feels very real. Feels like there's real ambergris in here to my nose. It's not listed. Everything, I mean, I got a compliment from my neighbor wearing this one day, which kind of made me laugh a little bit because he was like, "What are you wearing, dude? You smell absolutely amazing." And I was like, "You won't know. I mean, don't worry about it. You won't know." If I told him it was a women's fragrance, he probably would have fallen off his chair. Okay, again, we're getting into the big hitters here. Ma Liberté was number 10. This is number 9. This is Rochas Femme. Rochas Femme, Edmond Rudnitska masterpiece. The only Edmond Rudnitska I like more than this is Eau de Hermes. Eau de Hermes is my favorite Edmond Rudnitska. But this is a floral animalic chypre fragrance again. Plum, apricot, like oozy, like, you know, decadent, dark, juicy plum, peach, apricot, cinnamon, iris, jasmine, clove, immortelle. There's this dirty cumin note at the top that you get sometimes that puts modern women off, I think. But for a frag head, this is heaven. You know, and value for money is through the roof with this fragrance. 20, 30 bucks you can get. This is an older Parfum. This is a vintage Parfum de Toilette. I paid under $30 for it. Under $30. Musk, amber, oak moss, vanilla, civet, benzoin, leather, patchouli, sandalwood in the base. You know, on the stream, Russian Adam mentioned this as one of his fragrances that he's currently wearing. He's trying to explore more and more of the classics, and this is one that he got. And he compared it a little bit to MDCI's Chypre Palatin, and I understand what he's saying. You know, this is a much more modern Bertrand Duchefort interpretation, but I totally get what he's saying as far as the comparisons go. There is a little bit of that there. But Rochas Femme, I mean, again, if you're a guy, this was in the thumbnail of the first video. If you're a guy, do not let the word femme in giant writing put you off. This is, for a perfume head, this is one of the best fragrances you can smell to understand how we got to where we are and understand the master perfumers. Check this one out, Rochas Femme. Okay, next on the list, we have probably my favorite first impression video I've ever done. All right. So this barely beat out Rochas Femme, number 8 on the list. Go watch my first impression of this fragrance if you've never watched it. I lost my mind when I did that video because this fragrance knocked me out of my chair. It completely just put me on the ground. I remember standing, getting an oil change for my wife's car, just sitting there thinking, you know, I'm in the middle of this oil change place with about 10 other guys, and I am just radiating this fragrance. I mean, radiating it. And it was animalic, honeyed, and I was loving every second of it. I'm sure that, I mean, the guys are sitting in there in cowboy boots and, you know, and flannels, and they were probably looking at me like, what in the world is he wearing? It was this. Teatro alla Scala by Krizia. I don't know who the perfumer is for this either. They don't announce it, which really kind of makes me mad. But it's aldehydes. Oh my God. It's it's beeswax, aldehydes, benzoin, oak moss, a bunch of florals in the mid, musk, patchouli, vetiver, frankincense, and civet. Maybe the best proper use of a civet note in an animalic chypre I've ever smelled. Ever. The civet here is masterfully used. If you want to study how civet can be used in a chypre fragrance properly, this is the Eau de Toilette. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Here's the Eau de Parfum. Either one. I even did a comparison video on my channel. So if you want my thoughts on the differences, here's the Eau de Parfum. Doesn't matter. Just get whatever you can get for a good price. I think I prefer the Eau de Toilette a little bit, but maybe it's because this is the first one I've smelled. But the Eau de Parfum, my God. I mean, if this doesn't move you, put it away for 6 months, let your nose mature a little bit, and come back to it. That's how confident I am in this fragrance. It is for me, for my taste, it's one of my favorite women fragrances to wear. Even though it's only number 8, it's one of my favorites. Now, number 7. Number 7 is going to be very hard for you to find. I saw a bottle of this on eBay, this exact bottle, the one I have, the same amount of mils and everything, for over $1,000. That is scandalous. Do not pay that. I paid $80 for this a few years back before things went completely insane. And Roja Dove apparently has this on the 5th floor of Harrods in his haute perfumery, and it just took off. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize why the price went so crazy, but it's because apparently Roja highlighted this as one of the greatest vintage fragrances of all time, and it's Jean Desprez Bala Versailles. So it comes in this little, this is the Pure Parfum, okay? This is a 28 ml Pure Parfum of Bala Versailles. And, I mean, Jean Desprez. So the comparison for me for this, oh my God. Oh, I just need a minute. The comparison for me is Musc Ravageur. That's like a modern interpretation of this. This is more old school, dirtier. It's got this cassia note in the top with a big floral, big bass. Okay, so there's that dirty cassia with lilac, orris, but it's really all about the base. This is a base heavy fragrance. It's amber, it's benzoin, it's tolu balsam, it's vanilla, it's resins, it's civet. The civet in this, you know, this is like, you know how I mentioned Lagerfeld in the 70s, Obsession in the 80s? This is like the 60s version of that type of fragrance, okay? But it's done in such a classical way. You know, it's done in such an artful way. It's like staring at, you know, the person that, it's like staring at a painting by the person that taught one of the greatest painters of all time to paint. You know, it's literally like that. It's like you're seeing the progression throughout the decades, but you're looking at one of the originators, something very special. And this little 28 ml bottle or whatever it is, people are selling them for insane money. So this may be hard to find. The Pure Parfum, okay? You can buy the Eau de Cologne, you can buy the Eau de Toilette, I think. But the only one I know is the Pure Parfum. And whenever I wear this, especially in the winter is when I'll usually wear it, because it's this heavy oriental. Oh, this was Michael Jackson's signature scent too, by the way. And I mean, it oozes sexuality. You know, it really does. It just, you know, the civet just oozes this sexual, raw sexuality. There's no getting around it. There's no other word you can even use. Bala Versailles is, if you've never smelled that, you have to at least get your nose on it once as a frag head. Okay, The one that barely beat out Val of Versailles, so that was number 7. This is number 6. This is Creed's Venezia. This is a vintage bottle, vintage box. You can kind of tell by the short ingredient list on a Creed bottle, which is, look at that. Beautiful. I got a tester bottle as well, and I have a flacon. I have a 250 ml flacon of this. So look, 2 bottles, okay, and a flacon. That's how much I love this fragrance. This fragrance is basically, in a nutshell, what it is. It came out in '87, and it's Creed's take on Shalimar. That's what it is. There's absolutely no getting around it. It's Creed's take on Shalimar. But the ingredients used are of such high quality. There's basically only 5 ingredients listed. Bergamot, which is a huge player in Shalimar. Bergamot is giant in Shalimar. So bergamot in the top, that's it. Bulgarian rose in the heart, that's it. Ambergris in the base, sandalwood, and vanilla. Now, these old bottles Creed may be using real ambergris here. It smells like real ambergris. But the thing about it is, even my flacon from a decade ago, okay, a decade ago from today, so 2011 is when my flacon is from, I think, still smells like the ambergris is real. I'm sure it's not, but in the old bottles or the newer ones, they're damn close. Creed did a great job of keeping this fragrance, and it's one of the unsung gems of the House of Creed. Hardly anyone talks about this. Oriental floral fragrance, basically. And the ingredients smell so high quality. Someone said the sandalwood smells like my sort of sandalwood. I said, I know. They said the ambergris smells like ambergris. I said, I know. You know, that it has that kind of feel. It's not complex. It's a simple fragrance that just uses ingredients, you know, to perfection, basically. So that is Venezia. All right, next we're going to go to Estee Lauder. And this is called Azure. Now, you have to get this bottle that looks like this, with this gold thing coming down a little bit to here. This is the one you want. Don't get any other bottle. Don't get the new one. If you get the new one, you'll be disappointed, okay? It's different. It's a leather chiffre. This is one of the finest leather chiffres money can buy, period. End of story. Nothing, even modern stuff, you'll have to spend a huge amount of money. You'll have to buy Rochas Great Britain or something and spend $2,000 to get a fragrance that does what Azure does. Azure is... and I can't believe it was marketed for women. I cannot believe this fragrance was marketed for women. 1969, it smells a little bit like Hermes. I like it better than Cabochard, okay? It is aldehydic, it's green, there's some artemisia and basil, and orris, mugwort, vetiver, ylang, but the oak moss and the leather is just stunning. You know, if you're a fan of leather fragrances, this is the one that you want to check out. Azure is, if you can find it, it's worth the money, no matter the price. If it's $100, $200, $300, $400, it's worth it. If you're going to spend $1,000 on Roja, spend a couple $100 on Azure vintage. Trust me. Trust me. It will become one of your favorite leather fragrances of all time. Okay. We are in officially. Azure was top 5, so we're on number 4. You know, these are the big dogs. We've got back-to-back Guerlains. Number 4 for me is Mitsuko. This is the Eau de Parfum. This is the Eau de Toilette. Again, I think I prefer the Eau de Toilette. It breathes a little bit more. I also have Mitsuko and Eau de Cologne, but I don't think I grabbed the bottle. But Mitsuko is... I mean, what can you say about Mitsuko? It's the perfect, fruity, spicy chiffre. It just is. The peach note is perfection. The lilac and ylang and rose and jasmine is perfection. The dry down of oak moss, vetiver, spices, ambergris, and cinnamon is perfection. I mean, Mitsuko is one of the greatest fragrances of all time. It just is. You know, there's no getting around that. But for me, personally, there is one fragrance that edges it out for Guerlain. One love from the house of Guerlain that just edges it out. And it is Shalimar. Shalimar for me is my favorite women's Guerlain perfume. And Shalimar is, oh my God. I mean, this is the modern eau de parfum. This is the 80s Parfum de Toilette. I love them both. I mean, this is the one fragrance from Guerlain I think I prefer in eau de parfum form over eau de toilette. It's iris. Well, first of all, it's bergamot in the top. Big bergamot in the top. Huge bergamot. Like, it feels like 30% of the composition is bergamot. Iris, jasmine, rose, but it's that vanillin, that vanilla that Jacques Guerlain was playing with. Apparently, the rumor goes he was messing around with the formula of Jicky and he poured in too much vanillin at the time, or whatever they wanted to, whatever it was called, and boom, Shalimar was created. But I love Shalimar. I love the story. I love the way it makes me feel when I wear it. I mean, I feel like I'm wearing something special. You know, like I'm wearing something that just transcends time. I'm wearing an art form. I'm wearing a piece of art. That's what I feel like when I wear Shalimar. It really, really moves me. Top two. And second to the second favorite women's perfume to wear as a man is Opium. Opium is one of my favorite Orientals. I love everything about it. It makes, and the other thing I'll mention, this is the vintage. You can tell by the 80 degree right here. 80% is how they used to write that in the old days. But this is the more modern one with the cap, not the built-in sprayer. EDT, I love it. This is the Parfum de Toilette, which is what, or I'm sorry, Secret de Parfum. That's what they used to call the eau de parfum. I love it. This has like the myrrh amped up. Every single Opium I've smelled in these older forms, I love. Now the new stuff, I heard they butchered a little bit. Oh my God. I mean, spicy Oriental to perfection. Clove, benzoin of Papanax, myrrh, Tolu balsam, Castorium, Cistus labdanum, vanilla. I mean, if you don't experience this as a guy just because it was marketed towards women, you're only seeing half the picture. You know, you're only exploring half. It's like you're going halfway around the world and then stopping. There's a whole nother world for you to explore if you're a fragrance lover. And Opium is right at the top. Now, this one is going to be controversial because the bottle that I'm holding is from the 80s. This was marketed towards women in this version. They then re-released it in the mid-2000s as a unisex fragrance. Okay? So, my bottle is for women. But they did eventually re-release it and rebrand it. But I'm putting this in here. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite leather fragrances of all time. And it's called Chanel's Cuir de Russie. Cuir de Russie originally came out in the 20s. Leathery. Oh my God. Leathery, spicy. There's this dry, clary sage feel to it. But it's all about the, you know, you get this horse stable vibe, right? You get this, like you're in the Tsar of Russia in the turn of the century, right? You're still using horses. There's still, you know, in the horse buggy. You get the horse smell, that dirtiness, that stable feces, right? But somehow Chanel managed to make it refined. Chanel refined. How do you refine animalic leather and make it so posh? So, you know, like you're in a ballroom, you're in your best gown, you're in your best jewelry, you're at an event with other men and women in tuxes and other high-end gowns and jewelry, and yet there's that animalic dirty birch underneath, you know, smoky birch, animalic leather, vetiver. How do you do that, Chanel? It's got that Chanel sparkle, you know what I mean? But the dirtiness underneath that just keeps my attention. I sent some of this to Rich Mitch. And he said that he compared it to his version. And he said this is much more leathery, much less floral. This is an 80s bottle. If you ever see this come up and you have the money sitting there, okay? You have $500 or $1,000 to spend on a fragrance, and this bottle comes up for sale like this in the 80s version, Eau de Toilette, Cuir de Russie, grab it. Do not hesitate, grab it. If you have the money to spend on it. It's a lot of money, I know, but this fragrance is something very special, extremely special. That's why it made the top of the list. All right, we're an hour and 20 minutes in. I was very thorough. There's a lot of stuff to digest here. Thank you for watching. I hope you get to come back on Friday and stick around and hang out with me and Liz Moores. We're going to just get to know each other, you're going to get to know her a little bit more and her journey and what, you know, brought her to the point of founding her own brand and becoming the perfumer that she is. And I am very impressed with her work too, by the way. So again, that's Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hope you guys can tune in. Thank you for watching. Comments, likes, subscriptions, always appreciated. But again, it's not why I'm here. Here just to share the love, the art of perfumery with you. I hope you learned something today. I hope as a guy, if you are worried about trying women's fragrances, I hope this video put it to bed. And I hope you found a bottle or two or three to put on your watch list, to try, to sniff, to enjoy, to understand, to learn about. So thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye, guys.